Good afternoon. I am Dr. Prapurna, lecturer in mathematics, TSW RDC, LB Nagar. Today, let us discuss about group homomorphisms. Firstly, let us know what a group is in brief. In our colleges, we generally see MPC group, MECS group, MSCS group, so on. What are these? All the students in MPC group will have maths, physics, chemistry as their common subjects. All the students in MECS class will have maths, electronics, computer science as their common subjects and so on. Similarly, in abstract algebra, a group is a collection of elements possessing certain properties under certain conditions. Now, let us see what are those. Before going to a formal definition of a group, let us start with a small example, the set of integers which we generally denote with the letter Z. We had considered the set of integers Z. We all know that we can combine any two integers by using the operation addition. So, let us consider the operation addition in the set of integers. Right? Now, let us consider some two integers. Suppose 2, 4. Let us add them. What do we get? 2 plus 4, it is 6. Is 6 an integer? Yes. Take another two integers, say 1, minus 4. Add these two. 1 plus of minus 4, it is 1 minus 4, that is minus 3, which is also an integer. So, can I say this will be true for whatever two integers we select? That is, for any a, b selected in the set of integers, a plus b will always be in the set of integers. Yes, this property is called closure property. So, what did we observe here? In the set of integers, under the operation addition, closure property is satisfied. Now, let us consider three integers, say 1, 2, 3, three integers. Now, let us add these three integers as 1 plus 2 plus 3. That is, first let us add 1 and 2 and then add the result to 3. That is, 1 plus 2 is 3 and 3 plus 3 is 6. Now, let us add the same three integers in a different way. That is, 1 plus of 2 plus 3. It is 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 5, 1 plus 5 is 6. Did we get the same answer? Yes, we all know that when three integers are when added in different ways, we will get the same answer. That is, for any a, b, c in the set of integers z, a plus b plus c will always be equal to a plus b plus c. This is called associative property. So, what did we observe here? In the set of integers under the operation addition, associative property is satisfied. Now, let us consider an integer, say some 4. What integer is to be added to 4 to get 4 again? 0 is a possibility. 0 is an integer which when added to 4 we will again get 4. Is there any other possibility? No. 0 is the only integer which when added to 4 we will again get 4. What about minus 6? What integer is to be added to minus 6 to get minus 6 again? Definitely 0. So, whatever integer, some arbitrary x we choose, to get again x, the only possibility to be added is 0. So, here we call 0 as an identity element. Since the operation is addition here, we call 0 as an identity element. Because whenever 0 is added to any element, we are again getting the same element. So, what did we observe here? In the set of integers under the operation addition, we are able to find an additive identity. What is that identity here? 0. Now, let us consider an integer, say 3. What integer is to be added to 3 to make it our identity 0? Minus 3. Is there any other possibility? No. Minus 3 is the only possibility such that when 3 is added to minus 3, we will get 0 again. Let us take minus 6. What integer is to be added to minus 6 to get 0? Our identity. Definitely 6. So, we are able to find an integer such that when added to minus 6, we get our identity 0. Choose some arbitrary x. What integer is to be added to x to get our identity 0? Definitely minus x. Similarly, what integer is to be added to minus x to get our identity 0? Definitely x. So, what did we observe here? Whatever the integer we select, we are able to find another integer minus x such that when these two are added, we are able to get our identity 0. So, here x and minus x are called as inverses of each other. That is, minus x is an inverse of x and x is an inverse of minus x. Since the operation is addition here, we say these two are additive inverses of each other. So, what did we take? We have first considered the set of integers an operation in the set of integers and showed that the elements in the set of integers satisfies these 4 properties, that is closure, associative, existence of identity and existence of inverse for every element in Z. Now we say the set of integers is a group. Is it clear? Now to define a group, we need a set, an operation satisfying these 4 properties. Now let us generalize this and define a group in a formal way. A non-empty set G with a binary operation asterisk is said to be a group if the following conditions are satisfied. What are they? Closure property, that is, whenever we choose 2 elements A and B in G, A times B must definitely be in G. Associative property, that is, for any 3 elements A, B, C in G, we must have A times of B times C must be equal to A times B times C. Identity element must exist in G, that is, we must be able to find an element E in G such that when E is operated on some element A, we must again get A. This must be true for all A belongs to G. Next, the last condition is inverse element must exist for every element in G. That is, for every element in G, we must be able to find another element in G such that when these 2 are operated, we need to get our identity E. Now, for a group to be defined, binary operation plays a major role. For example, let us consider the same set of integers under the operation multiplication now. Let us check whether this will be a group or not. We all know that multiplying any 2 integers will always give an integer. So, definitely closure property is satisfied in the set of integers. That is, for any A comma B in Z, A into B will be in Z. Closure property is definitely satisfied in the set of integers. Next, multiplying 3 integers in any way will get the same answer. That is, A into BC will always be equal to AB into C for all A, B, C belongs to Z. Yes, associative property is also satisfied. Now let us prove for identity and inverse. Let us select an integer, say some 4. What integer is to be multiplied to 4 to get 4 again? Is it 0? No, 0 is for addition. Now we are using operation multiplication. So what integer is to be multiplied to 4 to get 4 again? 1. What integer is to be multiplied to minus 6 to get minus 6 again? 1. So here we are able to find an element 1 such that when 1 is multiplied to any integer, we will again get the same integer. So here 1 is called as identity element. Since the operation is multiplication, we say 1 is a multiplicative identity in the set of integers. Now let us consider the 4th condition. Take some integers, say some 5. What integer is to be multiplied to 5 to get our identity 1? What integer? We all know that 1 by 5 is the only possibility such that when these 2 are multiplied, we will get 1. But is 1 by 5 an integer? No, it is definitely not an integer. So, in the set of integers, we are not able to find an element such that when it is multiplied to 5, we are getting 1. So, inverse property is not satisfied here. That is, we are not able to find an integer such that when those 2 are multiplied, we will get our identity 1. So, the set of integers is not a group under the operation multiplication. So, for defining a group, the binary operation is very important. A non-empty set which is a group with one operation may not be a group when defined under another operation. Now, let us go to our main topic, homomorphism. What is the purpose of homomorphism? Why do we need this? Suppose we are having 2 groups with entirely different operations, and I wanted to compare these 2 groups and know whether they are similar or not. How can we do this? We can do this by using the concept called homomorphisms. Homomorphisms will give us a way to compare 2 groups whether they are similar or not. Now let us go in detail about this. Let G be a group under the operation asterisk and G prime be a group under the operation circle. Phi be a mapping from G to G dash. Let A be an element in G and B be another element in G. Now G is a group. So, closure property will be satisfied in G under the operation asterisk. So, definitely A times B will always be in G. So, A times B is in G. Let us denote A times B as some C. Now, phi is a mapping from G to G prime. So, image of A will be in G prime. Let us suppose it is phi of E. Image of B will be in G prime. Let us suppose it is phi of B. Similarly, image of C will be in G prime. Let us suppose it is phi of C. Now, if they are similar, if 2 groups are similar, a property which is satisfied in one group must be obeyed, the same property must be obeyed in the other group also. So, whenever A times B is equals to C in G, phi of A times phi of B must be equal to phi of C in G prime also. But C is already A times B, so we replace C as A times B. So, what did we get here? Phi of A times B is equal to phi of A times phi of B. This is the condition of homomorphism. That is, if the two groups with the different operations to be similar, this condition is to be satisfied. That is, phi of A times B must be equal to phi of A times phi of B. Now, let us define homomorphism. Let G and G prime are two groups. A mapping between these two groups will be a homomorphism. That is, these two groups will be similar under this mapping only if the condition phi of A times B is equal to phi of A times phi of B, and this condition must be true for all A comma B in G. Right? Now, let us see an example. We had seen that if phi is a mapping from G to G dash, then phi of A times B must be equal to phi of A times phi of B for all A comma B in G. This is the condition of homomorphism. That is, if the two groups are homomorphic, then this condition is to be satisfied. Now, let us take an example. A mapping phi from the set of all, the group of all positive real numbers under the operation multiplication to the group of all real numbers under the operation addition, defined by phi of A is equals to log A for all A belongs to R plus. Now, let us check whether this is a homomorphism or not. That is, under this mapping, whether these two groups are similar or not, we need to check. So, to check this, whether this is a homomorphism or not, we need to verify this condition. Let us replace this condition with the functions and operations in our examples. Now, for this example, the condition must be phi of, see here, comparing this with our definition, instead of G we are having R plus, instead of asterisk we are having multiplication, instead of G prime we are having the set of all real numbers, instead of circle we are having plus. So, replace all these in the formula. Now, what must be the condition? A times B, instead of asterisk we are having multiplication. So, A into B must be equal to phi of A, instead of circle we are having plus here, phi of A plus phi of B. So, the condition for homomorphism for our problem must be phi of AB equals to phi of A plus phi of B. Now, let us check whether this will be satisfied for our problem or not. The given mapping is phi of A equals to log A. So, to verify this condition, we need two elements A and B. So, let us select A comma B. Let us select A comma B in R plus. From our mapping, what is phi of A? Phi of A is equals to log A. Phi of B is equals to log B, since these two are elements in R plus. Now, A comma B are in R plus, and R plus is a group under the operation multiplication. So, definitely closure property is satisfied. So, whenever A and B are in R plus, A into B will also be in R plus. So, AB belongs to R plus from closure property. So, we can apply mapping here. What will be phi of AB? Phi of AB equals to log of AB. But from the property of logarithms, we know that log AB is equals to log A plus log B. Instead of log A, we can write phi of A, and instead of log B, we can write phi of B. So, this is the condition of homomorphism. So, we have verified this. Phi of AB is equals to phi of A plus phi of B. So, this function is a homomorphism between these two groups. That is, under this function, these two groups will be similar groups. Now, let us take one more example. A mapping from the group of all integers under the operation addition to the group of all integers under the operation defined as phi of A is equals to A plus 2 for all A belongs to Z. Let us check whether this mapping is a homomorphism or not. Again, we need two elements. Now, what must be the condition for homomorphism here? Phi of A plus B must be equal to phi of A plus phi of B. Since both group operations are addition, we are getting this. Instead of asterisk we are using plus, instead of circle also we are using plus here. Now, let us check this condition. We need two elements in Z. Let us select them. A comma B belongs to Z. What is phi of A? From the definition of the mapping, phi of A is A plus 2. Phi of B is B plus 2. Now Z is a group under the operation addition. We had seen it in the example. So closure property is satisfied in the set of integers. So whenever A and B are in Z, A plus B will also be in Z. Now applying the function, phi of A plus B is equals to A plus B plus 2. Now let us see what will be phi of A plus phi of B. Phi of A is A plus 2 plus phi of B is B plus 2, which is A plus B plus 4. Are these two same? No. Here phi of A plus B is not equal to phi of A plus phi of B. That is, this condition is not true here. From this, what can we conclude? This, under this mapping, these two groups are not similar groups. Okay. Now let us see a property of a homomorphism. If phi is a homomorphism from a group G to a group G prime, then phi will always map identity in G to identity in G prime and inverse of elements in G to inverse of elements in G prime. What do you mean by this? Suppose G is a group, G prime is a group, both are different groups with different operations. If phi is a homomorphism between these two groups, since G is a group, we will have an identity element, let us suppose it is E. G dash is a group, we will have an identity element, let us suppose it is E prime. So what is the property of homomorphism is, this homomorphism will always map identity element in G to identity element in G dash. That is, phi of E is equals to E prime. This is our first property. Homomorphism will always map identity to identity. That is, identity element in one group will always be mapped to identity element in the other group under this homomorphism. Now the second property is, inverse of elements in G will be mapped to inverse of elements in G prime. What do you mean by this? Whenever A is mapping to phi of A, its inverse, A inverse will be mapped to phi of A whole inverse. The second property of homomorphism is, whenever A is mapped to phi of A, its inverse, A inverse will be mapped to phi of A whole inverse. That is, phi of A inverse will be equal to phi of A whole inverse. These are the two important properties of homomorphism, that is, identity in G will always be mapped to identity in G prime and inverse of elements will always be mapped to inverse of elements in G prime. Now using these two important properties, we will try to define an important concept of a homomorphism called kernel of a homomorphism. Kernel of a homomorphism. Now what is a kernel? How did we define our homomorphism as? Homomorphism is a mapping between two groups satisfying particular condition. Homomorphism is just a mapping. We did not say whether it is a 1-1 function or an onto function, bijection, we did not mention anything. The homomorphism is just a mapping. Suppose a homomorphism need not be 1-1, need not be onto, need not be bijection. Suppose if our homomorphism is not a 1-1 function. What do you mean by 1-1 function? That is, an element in a first set is mapped to a single element in the second set. Then we say that mapping is a 1-1 function. What do you mean by if the function is not 1-1? There exists more than one element in the first set that is mapped to one element in the second set. Let us suppose that our homomorphism, which is defined from G to G prime, is not a 1-1 function. That is, there might exist some elements more than one which are being mapped to a single element in G prime. Suppose our homomorphism is not a 1-1 mapping, then we can find many elements in G which are being mapped to a single element in G prime. Now the image of all these elements is Y. That is, phi of x1 is Y, phi of x2 is Y, so on, phi of xn is Y. Right? Now let us consider the first one. Phi of x1 is Y. Let us operate on both sides with phi of x1 inverse, Y times phi of x1 inverse. Now we had seen two properties earlier. What are they? Identity element will always be mapped to identity element in G prime and inverse elements will always be mapped to inverse elements in G prime. Now we will use those two properties to define this. Now phi of x1 times phi of x1 inverse. From the second property we can replace this as phi of x1 inverse, yes, right, Y times, this is, what is phi of x1? It is Y. So we can replace this as Y inverse, yes. From the property, now phi is a homomorphism from G to G dash. So what is the homomorphism condition here? Phi of A star B is equals to phi of A times phi of B. This is true for all A comma B belongs to G. Now can we apply homomorphism condition here? Phi of x1 times phi of x1 inverse can be written as phi of x1 times x1 inverse from the condition of homomorphism, which is equal to y operated with its inverse. Whenever two inverses are operated, we will definitely get our identity. Since these two are elements in G prime, the identity in G prime is E prime. So y times y prime, y inverse is E prime. Now x times x1 inverse is E. Phi of E is equals to E prime. Yes. Let us consider the second one. Phi of x2 is equals to y1. Now say again operating same phi of x1 inverse on both sides. Phi of x2 times phi of x1 inverse equals to y times phi of x1 inverse. Phi of x2 times phi of x1 whole inverse can be written as phi of x1 inverse from the second condition. This is y times phi of x1 is y. So it is y inverse. From the condition of homomorphism, phi of x2 times phi of x1 inverse is phi of x2 times x1 inverse. Homomorphism condition here, y and its inverse, we get identity, right? So continuing similarly, what will we get for the last condition? When phi of xn is equals to y, operating phi of x1 inverse again, what do we get now? Phi of xn times x1 inverse equals to E prime. Now what did we observe in all these conditions now? E is an element mapping to E prime. x2 times x1 inverse is mapping to E prime. xn times x1 inverse is mapping to E prime. What did we observe here? There are many elements in G which are being mapped to identity element in G prime. Yes. So all these elements which are mapping to E prime will constitute a set called kernel of the homomorphism. So kernel of a homomorphism is defined as the set of all elements in G which are being mapped to identity element in G prime. If phi is a homomorphism from G to G prime, kernel phi is denoted as ker phi. Kernel of a homomorphism, we generally denote it as ker phi. It is defined as the set of all elements in G which are being mapped to identity element in G prime, where E dash is identity element in G prime. Yes. Now we had already seen an example of homomorphism. Let us check what will be the kernel for that homomorphism. We had seen an example that a mapping from the set of all positive real numbers under the operation multiplication to the set of all real numbers under the operation addition, defined as phi of A is equals to log A. Now we had seen this is a homomorphism earlier. Now let us check what will be the kernel for this homomorphism. Kernel of this homomorphism will constitute the set of all elements in G. Here the first set is R plus, where phi of x is mapping to identity element in G prime. What is identity element in G prime? Under the operation addition, the identity element is always 0. So this kernel phi consists of all the elements in R plus which are mapping to 0 in R. Phi of x is log x. Since we defined phi as log A, phi of x is equals to log x is 0. When do we get log x as 0? What is the possibilities for x? The only possibility to get log x as 0 is when x equals to 1 in the set of all positive integers, right? So the value of x can be only 1. So kernel phi will constitute only the single element 1. Is it clear? I think we are clear with so far topics we have discussed: group, homomorphisms, kernel, and how to find a kernel for a homomorphism. Thank you so much.